The massive viewscreen aboard the HSS Ascendant showed nothing but endless stars, but Captain Marcus Reeves knew better. Something was out there. The quantum sensors had detected anomalous readings from this sector for weeks, and now Earth's most advanced warship hung silently in space, waiting. Captain, new contact bearing 347 Mark II, announced Lieutenant Raj Patel from his tactical station. His dark fingers danced across the holographic interface as he refined the sensor data. It's big, sir, really big. Reeves straightened in his command chair, his weathered face illuminated by the soft blue glow of nearby displays. At 53, he was considered old for a frontline commander, but his experience had earned him command of humanity's newest and most sophisticated vessel. "Show me," he ordered. The main screen shifted, revealing a massive object emerging from fold space. It was unlike anything human eyes had ever seen, a crystalline structure that seemed to defy physics, its surface reflecting and refracting starlight in impossible ways. As they watched, smaller objects began separating from its hull, each one larger than the Ascendant herself. "Multiple contacts," Patel reported, his voice tense. "Reading energy signatures off the scale, sir. They're accelerating toward the Centauri colonies." First Officer Yuki Tanaka moved to stand beside the captain's chair, her expression grim. "The settlement on Alpha Centauri has over 12 million civilians," she said quietly, "if those ships are hostile." "Order the civilian ships to begin immediate evacuation," Reeves commanded. "And get me a direct quantum link to Fleet Command. They need to see this." Before communications could comply, the massive alien vessels suddenly changed course, heading straight for the Ascendant. The ship's AI Aria spoke through the bridge speakers. "Captain, I'm detecting intense scanning beams. They're probing our defensive systems." Reeves had spent 30 years in space, facing everything from pirates to solar storms. His instincts were screaming that this was different. These weren't simple explorers or raiders. This was first contact with something far more advanced and far more dangerous than humanity had ever encountered. "All hands to battle stations," he ordered, his voice calm but firm. "Bring up shields and charge all weapon systems, but do not, I repeat, do not fire unless fired upon." The bridge crew moved with practiced efficiency as the massive alien vessels approached. Through the view screen, Reeves could now see their true scale. Each one was easily 5 kilometers long, their crystalline surfaces rippling with energy patterns that defied analysis. "Sir," called out Dr. Vanessa Wung from the science station, "I'm detecting quantum fluctuations unlike anything in our database. These ships, they're not just technologically advanced, they're operating on principles we barely understand." A sudden burst of energy washed over the ship, causing the lights to flicker. "They're attempting to access our computer systems," Arya reported. "I'm countering, but their attacks are evolving, adapting to each defense I create." Captain Patel's voice was urgent now. "They're charging weapons." The first blast caught them completely by surprise. It wasn't energy or projectiles, it was pure gravitational force, warping space itself around the Ascendant. The ship's advanced inertial dampeners struggled to compensate as reality twisted around them. "Hull integrity at 82% from a single hit," reported Chief Engineer Nikolai Volkov over the comm. His Russian accent was thicker under stress. "Whatever they're using, our shields weren't designed for this." Reeves made a split-second decision. "Launch the quantum probes, all of them. I want every piece of data we can get about these ships and their weapons. Then plot an emergency fold space jump back to Earth. We need to warn them." But before they could act, a voice filled the bridge, not through speakers but directly in their minds. It was cold, alien, and carried an overwhelming sense of age and power. "Your species has been evaluated," it said. "You have achieved sufficient advancement to be worthy of notice. You will now be tested. If you survive, you may join us. If you fail, you will be eliminated. This is the way of the Meridians. This is the path to ascension." The voice withdrew, leaving behind a crushing silence. Reeves looked at his crew, humans from different nations, backgrounds, and beliefs, all united in this moment of crisis. He saw fear in their eyes, yes, but also determination. "Send the data to Earth," he ordered. "Then target their lead ship. If they want to test humanity, let's show them exactly what we're capable of." The Ascendant's advanced weapons came online, plasma cannons, quantum torpedoes, and systems so classified even Reeves didn't know their full capabilities. They were humanity's best hope, a ship built to defend Earth and her colonies against any threat. As the alien vessels moved to surround them, Reeves thought of the 12 million civilians on Alpha Centauri, of the billions more on Earth who had no idea what was coming. The Meridians had chosen humanity as their next test subject, but they were about to learn something crucial. Humans didn't take tests lying down. All weapons fire at will, Reeves commanded. Show them humanity's answer to their challenge. The space around the Ascendant erupted in a devastating display of human military technology. The battle for humanity's survival had begun, and Captain Marcus Reeves intended to make sure the Meridians remembered this day. The day they learned that humanity wasn't just another species to be tested and discarded. They were about to become the Meridians' greatest challenge yet. The orbital defense platforms surrounding New Eden lit up the night sky like artificial stars, their weapons primed and ready. Below, the colony's gleaming cities stretched across the landscape, home to 3 million settlers who had carved out a paradise on this distant world. Admiral Jun Wei stood on the bridge of the EDF Hyperion, watching as hundreds of ships took up defensive positions around the planet. 2 weeks had passed since the HSS Ascendant's encounter with the Meridians. In that time, humanity had mobilized on a scale unprecedented in its history. The Earth Defense Fleet had deployed every available ship, and the orbital shipyards worked around the clock, rushing to complete new vessels. "Status report," Wei commanded, his weathered face reflecting the holographic tactical display before him. Colonel Victoria Hayes, his tactical officer, responded immediately. 38 capital ships in position, sir. Support vessels and fighter squadrons deployed. Ground-based defense systems are online and at full power. If the Meridians come here, they'll face everything we've got. Wei nodded grimly. The Ascendant's data had been invaluable, allowing them to modify their weapons and defensive systems. But would it be enough? The Meridians had already destroyed 3 outer colonies, their crystalline ships seemingly unstoppable. "Multiple fold space ruptures detected," announced Lieutenant James Rodriguez from his sensor station. "Massive energy signatures, sir, they're bigger than anything we've seen before." The tactical display erupted with new contacts as Meridian vessels emerged from fold space. Their crystalline forms had changed, evolved since the first encounter. Now they bristled with new weapons, their surfaces rippling with energy patterns that seemed to bend reality itself. "They've adapted," Hayes whispered, her eyes wide. "The weapons we developed based on the Ascendant's data, they're already prepared for them." Wei's jaw tightened. "Then we'll have to adapt faster. All ships implement Battle Plan Omega, launch all fighters, and get me Captain Reeves on the Ascendant." The holographic display showed Marcus Reeves, his face bearing new scars from his ship's first encounter with the enemy. "Admiral, the Ascendant's ready. We've made some modifications of our own." "Good," Wei replied, "because we're about to find out if humanity's best is good enough. All ships engage." The battle erupted with devastating fury. Human warships unleashed everything they had: plasma beams, quantum torpedoes, and experimental weapons that bent the laws of physics. The Meridians responded with weapons that distorted gravity itself, tearing ships apart at the molecular level. But humanity had learned. Their ships moved in coordinated patterns, supporting each other, never presenting the same defense twice. When the Meridians adapted to one tactic, the fleet switched to another. "Sir," Hayes called out, "the Meridians, they're not just adapting to our weapons, they're learning from our tactics, our strategies. Each time we succeed, they become harder to hit." Wei watched as a Meridian beam cut through one of his cruisers like it was paper. But even as the ship died, its crew managed to launch a final salvo that shattered one of the alien vessels. A Pyrrhic victory, but one that proved the enemy wasn't invincible. "New contact," Rodriguez shouted. "Something's emerging from the planet's atmosphere." Wei turned to see an unexpected sight. Professor Olivia Chen, New Eden's leading quantum physicist, had launched her experimental research vessel. The small ship, bristling with prototype sensors and devices, headed straight for the largest Meridian vessel. "Professor Chen, return to the surface immediately," Wei ordered over the comm. "Negative, Admiral," Chen's voice was calm, determined. "My research. I've discovered something about their quantum field technology, something we can use, but I need to get closer." Before Wei could protest further, Chen's ship was enveloped in a Meridian energy beam. But instead of being destroyed, her vessel's experimental systems began to glow with an intense light. "It's working," Chen exclaimed. "Their quantum fields, They're not just weapons or defenses, they're communication networks. Their ships are linked, sharing data, adapting as one, but that link, it can be disrupted. Chen's discovery sparked a revolution in the battle. The human fleet began targeting specific frequencies, disrupting the Meridian's ability to adapt and coordinate. For the first time, the alien vessels seemed to falter, their perfect synchronization breaking down. But the victory came at a cost. Chen's ship exploded moments after transmitting her findings, the brave scientist sacrificing herself to give humanity a fighting chance. Dozens of human vessels lay broken in space, their crews having given everything to protect their home. As the battle reached its climax, the remaining Meridian ships did something unexpected. They retreated, vanishing back into fold space. The humans had won their first major victory, but Wei knew this was just the beginning. Admiral Reeves called from the Ascendant. Why did they withdraw? They still had enough ships to continue the fight. Wei studied the tactical data, a chill running down his spine. Because this wasn't just an attack, Captain, it was an evaluation. They're learning about us, testing our capabilities, our resolve. And next time they'll be ready for everything we just showed them, Reeves finished. Wei looked out at his battered fleet, at the colony they had saved at such cost. Then we'll have to show them something new, because that's what humans do best. We adapt, we innovate, and we never stop fighting. The battle for New Eden had been won, but the war was far from over. As repair crews began their work and medical ships tended to the wounded, Wei knew that humanity's greatest test still lay ahead. The Meridians would return stronger than ever. But they would find that humanity had grown stronger too. In the face of extinction, the human spirit burned brightest, and that fire would light their way to victory no matter the cost. The HSS Shadowhawk drifted silently through the debris field, its advanced stealth systems making it virtually invisible to both conventional and quantum sensors. Commander Diana Frost stood at the tactical station, her cybernetic eyes scanning the wreckage of what had once been the colony world of Proxima Beta. "Status report," she whispered, though the ship's sound-dampening fields made such precautions unnecessary. Old habits died hard, especially for someone who'd spent 15 years in special operations. Lieutenant Kai Zhang, her sensor officer, responded just as quietly. No active Meridian signatures within detection range, but those crystal structures on the planet's surface, they're growing. The Shadowhawk's main screen showed the horrifying transformation below. Massive crystalline spires rose from the planet's surface, their alien architecture defying human understanding. What had once been cities were now being consumed and reformed by the strange structures. Dr. Jackson, Frost called to her science officer. "What are we looking at?" Dr. Theodore Jackson, a quantum physicist who'd specialized in meridian technology since first contact, studied his readings intently. His dark skin reflected the blue glow of his console as he worked. "It's like nothing we've ever seen. They're not just building on the planet, they're changing it at the molecular level, rewriting its very structure." Frost's cybernetic eye zoomed in on one of the larger structures, its enhanced vision revealing patterns that normal human eyes couldn't perceive. "They're not just testing us," she realized. "They're preparing these worlds for something." The mission had seemed straightforward when Admiral Wei proposed it. Use the Shadowhawk's experimental stealth technology to penetrate deep into Meridian-controlled space, gather intelligence on their operations, and find a weakness. But what they discovered was far more disturbing than anyone had anticipated. "Commander," called out Chief Engineer Raven Two Bears from her station. "I'm detecting quantum fluctuations similar to the ones Professor Chen documented before her death. But these are different, more complex." Frost made a decision. "Take us in closer, full stealth protocols." The Shadowhawk glided through the debris field, its revolutionary hull absorbing or deflecting any scan that might reveal its presence. The ship itself was humanity's latest achievement, smaller than a standard destroyer, but packed with experimental technology that even the Meridians hadn't encountered yet. As they approached the largest crystal structure, their sensors began picking up something new. "Energy signatures," Zhang reported. They're similar to our quantum communication networks, but the complexity is off the charts." "It's a library," Jackson suddenly exclaimed, his eyes wide as he interpreted the data. "Or maybe more like a memory bank. These structures, they're storing information, not just data, but experiences, the combined knowledge of every species they've encountered." Frost felt a chill run down her spine. They're not just conquerors, they're collectors. Each species they test, each civilization they encounter, becomes part of their collective knowledge, Jackson finished. Win or lose, everything we are, everything we know becomes part of their database. A sudden alarm cut through the silence. Multiple fold space ruptures, Zhang called out. Meridian ships incoming. Full power to stealth systems, Frost ordered. Prepare to. But before she could finish, something impossible happened. A voice filled their minds just as it had during first contact. Your attempt at concealment is admirable, the voice said, but futile. Your presence was detected the moment you entered this space. Your technology is impressive, perhaps the most advanced stealth systems we have encountered in a millennium. You will now witness the purpose of your testing. The crystal structures on the planet's surface began to pulse with blinding light. The Shadowhawk sensors went wild as reality itself seemed to twist and bend around them. They're opening something, Jackson shouted over the growing quantum interference. A portal, but not like anything we've seen before. This isn't just fold space technology. Through the view screen, they watched in horror as a massive tier in spacetime opened above the planet. Through it, they could see something, a realm of pure crystal extending infinitely in all directions. Their home dimension, Jackson whispered in awe. They're not just from another part of space, they're from another reality entirely. Frost made an instant decision. All power to engines, get us out of here, we have to warn Earth. The Shadowhawk's experimental quantum drive roared to life, pushing the ship to speeds that would have torn a normal vessel apart. Behind them, Meridian ships emerged from fold space, their crystalline forms now transformed into something even more alien. But the Shadowhawk had one more trick up its sleeve. Activate the quantum wake generator, Frost ordered. Let's show them something new. The device, based on Professor Chen's final discoveries, created a disruption in the quantum fields that the Meridians used to communicate and coordinate. In the confusion, the Shadowhawk slipped away, carrying with it crucial information about humanity's enemy. Hours later, safely hidden in deep space, Frost recorded her report for Earth Command. The Meridians aren't just testing us for dominance, she explained. They're preparing our reality for invasion by their entire civilization. Each world they transform becomes a gateway, a bridgehead for their dimension to merge with ours. She paused, her cybernetic eye replaying the images of that crystalline dimension. But they made a mistake. In letting us see their true nature, they've given us a chance. We now know what we're really fighting for, not just our lives or our worlds, but the very nature of our reality itself. The Shadowhawk turned toward Earth, carrying its vital intelligence. The true war was about to begin, and humanity would need every scrap of knowledge, every technological advancement, and every ounce of courage to face what was coming. The Meridians had revealed their ultimate purpose. Now it was humanity's turn to show them why that was a fatal mistake. Emergency lights flashed throughout Earth Defense Command headquarters as General Hector Ramirez studied the holographic display showing humanity's remaining colonies. Red warning indicators were appearing faster than he could process them. New Mars, Titan Base, Europa Prime, all under simultaneous attack. Sir, his aide, Major Grace O'Connor, reported grimly. We've lost contact with the Ganymede Defense Fleet. Admiral Wei's last transmission indicated the Meridians have developed some kind of quantum suppression field. Our ships can't even enter fold space to retreat. Ramirez watched as another indicator turned red. 20 years of military service hadn't prepared him for this. The Meridians weren't just attacking, they were systematically cutting off every human settlement from each other, isolating them before delivering the killing blow. What's the status of Project Phoenix? He asked, referring to the classified initiative born from Commander Frost's intelligence about the Meridian's true nature. Dr. Hassan Patel, the project's lead scientist, stepped forward. His usual pristine lab coat was wrinkled from days without rest. The quantum resonance technology is ready but untested. If we're right about how the Meridians bridge dimensions, we might be able to disrupt their connection to their home reality. But the power requirements would drain every reactor on Earth, O'Connor finished. We'd be defenseless. A new alert caught their attention. The massive view screen showed Captain Reeves' Ascendant engaged in desperate combat near Saturn. The advanced warship was holding its own against 3 Meridian vessels, but more were emerging from fold space every minute. General, Lieutenant Felix Ortiz called from communications. Priority message from Commander Frost on the Shadowhawk. She's discovered something about the crystalline structures. Frost's face appeared on screen, her cybernetic eye glowing intensely. General, we've confirmed it. Each structure they build isn't just a gateway, it's part of a larger network. They're creating a lattice across our entire solar system. Once it's complete, their entire dimension will begin bleeding into ours, Patel concluded, his face paling. The transformation we observed on Proxima Beta will happen everywhere at once. Ramirez studied the tactical display, his mind racing. Humanity's forces were scattered, cut off from each other by the Meridian's quantum suppression fields. The colonies were falling one by one. Even Earth's formidable defenses wouldn't hold against a dimensional invasion. Sir, O'Connor said quietly, the civilian evacuation ships from Europa Prime, they're not going to make it. The general watched helplessly as Meridian ships closed in on the refugee fleet. Thousands of civilians, including children, were about to die. But before the killing blow could land, a new ship emerged from behind Jupiter's moon Callisto. This is Chief Engineer Raven Two Bears of the destroyer Thunderchild, a familiar voice announced. We still have power to our quantum wake generator. We'll hold them off, get those civilians to safety. The Thunderchild, a smaller vessel that had been part of Commander Frost's original mission, positioned itself between the refugee ships and the Meridian fleet. Its experimental device, based on Professor Chen's discoveries, created massive disruptions in the aliens' quantum communication network. The Meridians turned their full attention to this new threat, giving the civilian ships time to escape. But the Thunderchild's brave crew paid the ultimate price, their ship torn apart by crystalline beams that warped space itself. That's it, Ramirez said suddenly, his voice firm. Major O'Connor, send word to all remaining ships, fall back to Earth immediately. Dr. Patel, how quickly can you modify Project Phoenix's quantum resonance technology to work on a smaller scale? The scientist blinked in surprise. Smaller, but sir, the whole point was to affect the entire system. Not the system, Ramirez interrupted. Just Earth, we've been fighting the wrong war. We can't stop them from transforming our reality, but we can make sure they regret trying. Understanding dawned on Patel's face. You want to turn Earth itself into a weapon. The Meridians adapt to everything we throw at them, Ramirez explained. But they've never faced a planet that could fight back. How quickly can you reconfigure the planetary defense grid to channel the quantum resonance effect? 12 hours, maybe less with help from the Ascendant's AI systems. But sir, even if it works, the power drain would leave Earth vulnerable. We'd have one shot at this. Ramirez looked at the tactical display one last time. More red indicators were appearing, more human ships and colonies falling to the crystalline invaders. They were out of options and out of time. Send the order, he commanded. All remaining ships are to protect Earth at all costs. Everyone else. He paused, the weight of command heavy on his shoulders. Everyone else is on their own until we can find a way to break through those suppression fields. As the orders went out, Ramirez watched humanity's greatest warriors make their last stand. The Ascendant somehow still fighting near Saturn. The Shadowhawk gathering crucial intelligence about the enemy. The scattered remnants of the Earth Defense Fleet battling against impossible odds to buy their homeworld time. Sir, O'Connor reported, Captain Reeves is asking. He wants to know if this is really the best we can do, if we're really going to abandon the colonies. Ramirez straightened his uniform. Tell him no, Major. Tell him this isn't surrender, it's preparation. The Meridians think they're herding us into a trap, forcing us back to Earth. They don't realize we're about to show them why humanity's homeworld has survived every crisis it's ever faced. And what's that, sir? The general's eyes hardened as he watched the Meridian ships advancing on Earth, their crystalline forms distorting space itself as they approached. Because Earth isn't just a planet, Major, it's humanity's fortress. And we're about to remind the universe why you don't corner a species that turned its cradle into a weapon. Earth's atmosphere crackled with energy as the planetary defense grid pulsed with more power than it had ever channeled before. Thousands of quantum resonance emitters, hastily modified under Dr. Patel's guidance, turned the planet's magnetic field into a weapon unlike anything the universe had ever seen. In low orbit, the combined remnants of humanity's fleet formed a last line of defense. The Ascendant, battle-scarred but unbowed, took point position. Captain Reeves stood on his bridge, watching as the massive Meridian fleet emerged from fold space, not in waves this time, but all at once. Hundreds of crystalline ships, their forms now twisted into configurations that defied human comprehension. They're not even trying to hide their true nature anymore, Commander Frost observed from the Shadowhawk, which had taken position alongside the Ascendant. Her cybernetic eye tracked the strange distortions surrounding the alien vessels. The barrier between dimensions is already starting to break down. All ships maintain formation, Admiral Wei commanded from the Hyperion. Remember the plan. We only need to hold them back until the planetary grid reaches full power. The meridian voice that had haunted them since first contact filled every human mind simultaneously. Your resistance has provided valuable data. Your species' adaptability exceeds our projections. You will make an excellent addition to our collection. Collection this, Reeves muttered, then raised his voice. All ships execute Battle Plan Omega Phoenix. The human fleet moved as one, employing every lesson learned from months of desperate warfare. Quantum wake generators disrupted the Meridian's network. Experimental weapons based on Professor Chen's research targeted the aliens' dimensional weak points. But the Meridians had adapted to these tactics, their ships shifting and transforming to counter each attack. Their suppression field is affecting the planetary grid, Dr. Patel reported from Earth Command. Power output dropping to 70%. General Ramirez watched the battle from the command center, his face illuminated by the tactical displays. We need more power. Divert everything, civilian power grids, transport networks, even life support if you have to. Sir, Major O'Connor protested, that would leave our population centers completely vulnerable. Our people are already as good as dead if this fails, Ramirez replied grimly. Do it. Across Earth, cities went dark as every scrap of power was channeled into the planetary defense grid. In orbit, the battle reached a fever pitch. Human ships fought with desperate courage, but the Meridian's superior technology was overwhelming them one by one. The Hyperion exploded in a quantum fireball, taking Admiral Wei and 3 Meridian ships with it. The Shadowhawk's stealth systems failed under concentrated fire, forcing Commander Frost to engage in direct combat. Even the mighty Ascendant was showing signs of strain, its advanced hull breached in multiple sections. Planetary grid at 95%, Patel announced. But the dimensional interference is increasing exponentially, sir. I'm detecting massive quantum signatures. They're trying to open a direct portal to their dimension. Above Earth's North Pole, space itself began to tear open. Through the massive breach, humans got their first direct look at the Meridian's home reality, an infinite crystalline lattice that seemed to pulse with consciousness itself. My God, Frost whispered, they're not just a species, they're an entire dimension that gained sentience. And now they want ours, Reeves added. His tactical officer lay dead at his station, the bridge of the Ascendant barely holding together. Dr. Patel, we need that grid now. It's not ready, Patel shouted back. The power levels aren't high enough to affect their dimension. At that moment, Lieutenant Kai Zhang from the Shadowhawk made a desperate transmission. Commander, the quantum readings from their portal, they match the frequency Professor Chen discovered, the one that killed her when she overloaded her systems. Frost's cybernetic eye widened as she processed this information. Of course, Captain Reeves, Admiral Wei, anyone still alive out there, we've been thinking about this wrong. We don't need to match their power. We just need to disrupt it, Reeves finished, understanding dawning. Like throwing a single wrong note into a perfect harmony. Exactly, Dr. Patel, reconfigure the grid. Don't try to overpower their dimension. Target the exact frequency Professor Chen found, but in reverse phase. Patel's fingers flew across his console as he made the adjustments. Ready, but sir, this could destabilize both dimensions, the casualties. Will still be better than letting them consume our entire reality, Ramirez decided. Do it. The planetary defense grid pulsed one final time. But instead of raw power, it emitted a precise quantum frequency, the mathematical opposite of the one that governed the Meridian's dimensional bonds. The effect was instantaneous and catastrophic. The crystalline ships began to shatter, their perfect forms unable to maintain coherence as the fundamental forces holding them together were disrupted. The massive portal above Earth collapsed in on itself, the connection between dimensions severing violently. The Meridian voice spoke one final time, but now it carried something new: respect and perhaps even fear. You would risk your own dimension to stop us? This is unprecedented. That's humanity for you, Reeves transmitted back. We don't submit to tests, we break them. The remaining Meridian ships fled, their perfect coordination shattered by the quantum disruption. As they vanished into fold space, their final transmission reached every human mind. Your species will be marked in our archives, not as subjects but as equals. The test is concluded. In the aftermath, humanity began to rebuild. The colonies that had survived would take generations to recover. Earth itself bore scars from channeling such power through its defense grid, but they had done the impossible. They had forced an entire dimension to retreat. Months later, Captain Reeves stood in the orbital shipyards, watching as construction crews repaired the Ascendant. Commander Frost joined him, her cybernetic eye now supplemented by several new upgrades based on captured Meridian technology. "They're still out there," she said quietly, "watching, learning." "Good," Reeves replied. "Let them watch, let them learn, because next time they decide to test a species, they'll remember Earth. They'll remember the humans who turned their own dimensional technology against them, and maybe, just maybe, they'll think twice." "And if they don't?" Frost asked. Reeves smiled grimly as he watched humanity's ships being rebuilt, each one incorporating lessons learned from the war. Below, Earth had already begun adapting Meridian quantum technology for peaceful purposes, advancing human civilization by centuries. "If they don't," he said, "we'll be ready. Because that's what humans do best: we adapt, we overcome, and we never stop pushing the boundaries of what's possible." The stars stretched out before them, infinite in their possibility. Humanity had faced its greatest test and emerged stronger. The Meridians had sought to add humans to their collection of conquered species. Instead, they had unleashed something they never expected, a species that refused to be collected, that fought back against impossible odds, that turned the very laws of reality into weapons when pushed too far. Humanity hadn't just survived, they had ascended on their own terms, and the universe would never be the same.